Coming up this week on Beyond the Vibe, we're joined by the frontman of Psycho Village, Daniel.
I have this song, do you think is Benji interested in doing a feature and just writing his Benji style vocals to this very part, because I would think it's very cool. And all like, yeah, we'll send it forward to him. I didn't hear back in like 2 weeks, so I was like, well, it's probably not gonna happen. And then like one morning I just look at my email, so he sent me the very first demo of the legendary track, and it hasn't changed too much. It was pretty much 90% what he's fully blind, born blind, and the first, gotta give him credit for that, because he's framed a lot of the instrumentation of Psycho Village up until this point. And looking back now, and I actually need to get that approved, it probably was the longest tour of 2020. With 75 days in a row.
So in a row.
Hello, welcome to Beyond the Vibe, the show that cuts deep into the world of music.
My name is Aaron Day, lead guitarist of UK band These Weekend Contributors, and I'm here with music videographer and photographer, Mr. Ryan Basie.
It is, of course.
Don't be afraid. I've not cut my hair off.
No.
I've just gone for like a little. Oh, it looks particularly.
When I came into the chat, I was like, he's gone pop punk. But,
I don't know where the people go. Favorite Blink-182 song. I don't know where people go. No, I've got it on top. I've had a beard trim though. I've had a beard trim. Very, very serious. It had to be done. I get this easy top thing where it goes separate, so it has to be reined in. But yes, how are you, Mr. Basie?
I am doing well. It's been a busy week, and after the busy week, I came home and discovered that Neil Young decided to pull off all of his music off Spotify. I
discovered it because I went to go and listen to Harvest, and I wasn't allowed.
You were disappointed.
And I like the fact that Spotify, they've left it on there, and it's like, nope.
Oh, so it's there, but it's like there. You can't play it.
No, it's like, nope, Uncle Neil says you can't.
Yeah.
He says you can't. It's like when we had a thing when I was younger, when Jack Russell used to, Noah Large, this is a segue and a half, used to give him tidbits of ham. And my dad said, oh, don't do it because he's getting fat. So what my nan used to do, she'd go, Johnny says no. Johnny says no. That's basically what Spotify are doing. They're showing you what you could have won. And they're going, Neil says no.
Yeah.
He says no. Where do you stand on this whole thing? So for people who are not aware, this is Neil Young reacting to comments that
it's around the Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
There was 2 interviews in particular in which Joe Rogan, I believe, had like 2 science-related people around the whole COVID thing and vaccine thing. So whether you agree on vaccines or not, it's kind of irrelevant. But it's more around Neil Young's opinion, because he felt that having people come on and basically say that, I presume say that vaccines maybe aren't great or something like that around the COVID thing. He's now decided to turn around and go, guess what? I'm pulling everything off the platform because I don't think that you should go around saying that.
Yeah.
See, the thing for me that I kind of draw into question is now it's been announced that Neil Young has, well, him or the people that own his music, I don't know what that scenario is, they've now joined Amazon Music, like on an exclusive deal.
It's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Bit dodgy,
which to me is a little bit questionable, because if of course, you're questioning Spotify on their opinions and views, or the platform they're giving to people that have opinions and views, and you jump over to Amazon. Now Amazon aren't squeaky clean either. No. They've got some history there.
It's not. If I was going to jump ship to another like provider, I would have a platform. I wouldn't have gone to Amazon, because I think
it's not your first choice, is it?
No, and I've always, in this, and Joni Mitchell's joined him as well. And Joni Mitchell and Neil Young were part of this movement in the late '60s, which was very sort of C&D, anti-war, after the Vietnam War, and it was a bit, a musical movement as well as sort of a political movement. And I'd like to think that a lot of that was based around freedom of speech. They used to do a lot of rallies and stuff, and that's where the song "The Crosby, Stills and Nash" song "Ohio" comes from, because it's about people getting killed in the rallies for just expressing their opinions.
Yeah.
And all Spotify are doing is giving somebody a platform for their own freedom of speech, you know. And I think
whether
that
it's
means,
right or wrong, it doesn't
whether
matter.
it's right or wrong,
Yeah.
it's you know, people can express their own opinions, and I think they're in trouble when you say if Spotify were to take Joe Rogan off. I think it separates people, it creates a divide then, you know, between the Neil Young people and the Joe Rogan. And I think the whole idea of what he's maybe tried or was trying to create in the late 60s was togetherness, you know, and love.
Yeah.
And I think that gets a bit lost in this whole sort of thing. But it's
I
very
think,
interesting.
Yeah, I think the only reason that I can come up with currently is both him and Jodie Mitchell as children had polio. And they got polio because they were around basically before that polio vaccine was in existence. So my thought is this kind of knee-jerk reaction of, oh, you know, I wouldn't have got ill if this had been available to me.
Yeah, they've been through it. Yeah.
So they've been through the trenches essentially with this terrible illness. So maybe they don't want to see people have a repeat of that, and it's kind of a panic reaction.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
So yes, strange one. But
very strange. Moving on.
Yes. Speaking of strange, though, we do have a band with an unusual name, don't we? We're joined by Danny of Psycho Village.
Yes.
I haven't heard of this name before. It's a new one.
Awesome name. just putting that out there. Big fan of that. Yeah, Danny was actually reached out to us. You know, we were really into his enthusiasm, we were really into the band, and one of the things we like to do on the Vibe is give a platform to new bands. You know, particularly from you know, places that people maybe aren't checking them out over in the UK. You know, and I think it'll be a really cool interview, and I hope people enjoy it and give Psycho Village a listen. But if people want to hear that interview, Ryan, where can they hear that?
People can hear that interview now.
So we're here with Danny, the lead vocalist and guitarist of Psycho Village. Thanks for joining us, Danny.
Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
We're great.
We're good, man. Yeah.
So we like to kick things off on the show by taking a look at a musician's origins. So with that in mind, when was the first time you remember hearing music and thinking, like, this is what I want to do? Did you have like a moment?
The first time remembering hearing music or remembering I want to do this? So first thing remembering hearing music was probably like in kindergarten and stuff, but we're not going to count that in. But yeah, music-wise, I saw the Guns N' Roses Live from Tokyo DVD from my dad when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, and I thought it was like the coolest shit. And Gina were the coolest band on this planet, and there's no point in even starting doing music because you can never achieve that level of coolness. So I wanted to be a Guns N' Roses cover band, because why even try to be better than that if that's already God level? That's my 7-year-old self, and that's started it all.
very, very self-critical 7-year-old. It's like, no, I'm never gonna get better than this. This is, but I think for a lot of people, Guns N' Roses are that first band. I remember the first time I listened to Appetite and looked on the back and saw the picture of them all lying down, you know, with bottles of Jack Daniels. So I was the same.
Oh yeah. That's like, isn't that the backside of the reissue of the Appetite record?
Yeah. Because they didn't have because obviously they had the gruesome cover on the original, and then obviously when they reissued it, they had the cross, and then that was the back thing. So I was the same. I was like, it almost feels like they're not real. It's almost like they're just mythical, you know, people. And yeah, I was the same. I just thought it was so cool. Was that the moment that drew you towards playing the guitar, or was that a different thing?
I think I started playing guitar when I was 7-ish, and I wasn't really interested for the first 2 or 3 years. I mean, I thought it looked cool, but I just never, you know, grasped how, like, where to put my hands and learn all the notes and stuff, right? So really just started playing and properly learning play properly when I entered, I guess, high school, Gymnasium in German, right? When I was like 10 or 11. And yeah, just a few years later with 13, 14, started playing my first band projects, or, you know, music school ensemble, so however you want to call it. And then with 15 founded Cycle Village and been doing that ever since.
It's amazing. Like you say, obviously that was back in 2009, you know, when he was just 15. Obviously now we're fast forward to 2022. Was there a particular moment for you personally?
Crazy,
you know,
right?
It's crazy, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, you know, in terms of how the amount of time you've been in just one band, man. You know, was there a moment for you personally in that timeline, whether it be, I don't know, writing a certain song or a particular gig where you thought, this is going to be good? You know, this is the reason I've stayed with the same band since I was 15.
Few. I mean, realistically speaking, I mean, Cycle Village is a band name and has always been promoted as a band, but technically speaking, it's just me with various musicians over the time. And I have my set team with like friends and you know, at this point, everyone's a friend in my team, right? But, you know, producers and just friends I work and write with, and just the live musician have changed over the course of, Jesus Christ, 13 years at this point, right? Which makes sense because most people, like, if people that want to be in bands and tour and stuff, will give it like 1 or 2 years max, until it's not the number one priority. So I've made that through, and if you like a couple of times, not a couple of times, but maybe like 5 times at this point within 13 years. But you know, if you're not a world-class superstar after a year or 2 of really pushing hard, everyone's kind of, you know, a lot of people have the mindset of, I could also chill on the sofa with my girlfriend and my dog, which I enjoy too, because I've literally been doing that right up until this interview. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think many bands that are not on, you know, a level where they sell out 1,000 cap venues swap members rather often, and that's also kind of what happened with me. In regards actually to your first question, yes, there have been many moments, and I've kind of lost myself in what I'm trying to get across. But one of the bigger moments was, that's the reason why I wrote this song called "It's Okay," which actually is a big print right back on my back, right? We played this big show for us back then at this big 500 cap venue in Vienna back when we still played locally, and it was the biggest thing in the world that you play in another city, right? So that was early on, and we played this show with 2 other local bands we were friends with, and it was a decent show. And after the show, this girl came up to me and was like, you know, I just want to thank you, because within that half an hour, 45 minutes that I've seen you on stage, I basically forgot how shitty my life is, and then elaborated on the reasons why she thinks that. And it was kind of tough, like just hearing that with, you know, immigrant parents that wanted to force her possibly in a forced marriage, and like deep shit, right? Like actually deep shit, not just I'm a teenager and I can't cope. It's like actually stuff where you're like, well, fuck, I don't really, you know, what I have to deal with this. But it just, you know, touched me on a level just hearing that. And I was like 16, 17 back then, that you touched someone so deeply that they would tell you that. And that's basically what It's Okay is about. And kind of repurposed the whole, you know, reason why I wanted to do music, and not just be on stage and look cool and you know, play to people that think you're amazing, but actually write about stuff and, you know, hopefully touch people with your performance, with the song, with the meaning of the song and the lyrics. And, you know, that kind of changed a lot for me. So that was definitely one of the key moments back then.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I think that's the beauty of music and why we all love it so much. Is it's one of the purest forms of escapism, and I think it means that songs like you say, like that, they live on because they live with people, you know, rather than you just being with yourself. And even though you apologise for it, I quite liked that little segue you went off in, you know, because it kind of basically sort of leads me to my next question about the fact for a lot of people, Danny, you know, I was in a band when I was 15, and then the band kind of went out, and now I'm in the band I'm in now, But not a lot of people can say they've been in the same band since they were 15, and I imagine there's a real honour and a connection there for yourself, How's the dynamic changed? Like you said, when you were 15, did you have a core group of members, or was it always you driving it, or did it just become that over time?
It's basically with me driving it. Back then, I founded Cycle Village with two friends of mine, a keyboarder called Florian, which I'm still friends up until this point.
Cool.
So, and another guy called Jerry, who was playing bass. But basically, Flo and I were in this music ensemble. Basically, the music teacher, had this rock evening once a week where, all his students and other students of the music school would gather and just cover rock songs, and that's how we met. And then we would play 2 or 3 shows a year, like the evening where all the parents would gather and watch their kids play, and then at the end of the school open air. I was just like, I want to play more than 2 shows a year, right? So we founded Cycle Village and had him and I, and then the bass player. And Flo and I started writing songs together. And Flo, very, very cool individual, and he's also on the upcoming record that I'm still writing. He plays piano on a song or 2. So it's, even though he has left the band 11, 12 years ago, we're still working on Cycle Village music every now and then. And he's a very cool dude. He's fully blind, born blind, and the first, got to give him credit for that, because he's framed a lot of the instrumentation of Cycle Village up until this point. He was the first blind keyboard or pianist that was able and allowed to study music at the university, the Vienna University, for classical piano. Because part of the reason not many blind people can do that is because you need to read notes, which is kind of hard when you're blind, right? So anyways, got a little sidetracked, but that's basically the first lineup of Cycle Village. And Flo left because he just didn't enjoy playing live shows, because it's just loud and noisy, and when you don't see and have the experience, at least that's what he told me, it's just hard for him, because he has a perfect hearing, so he can, I don't know if that's the English term, but he can like tune guitars just from hearing and know if a note is off or on, right? And with all the things that come with a live show, the noise, the not being able to hear everything perfect, that was just hard for him. So that's the reason he left. And then the bass player Jerry also left a few years later, because I wanted to do this professionally and have shows, 2-3 shows every single weekend, and he just didn't. He just couldn't do it. He actually looked kind of similar to you.
Which one?
Bandana and a beard and yeah. And then I just, since then I've had 3 or 4 different lineups. Most just for live shows for a year or 2. Some people stayed longer, and it's just been ever changing since then. And for various reasons, when you're 15, 16, you get into arguments that you probably wouldn't now, me being 27. And then that's part of it. Not going to deny that, but we all had stupid arguments when we were that young. And yeah, some people just dropped out because they just realized touring isn't for them, which is fair enough. Yeah, just many different reasons. And for the past years, I've basically just approached it as being my band and me. I write all songs, I write all lyrics. On the most recent records, I've also just recorded all instruments except bass myself. So just was just me and being the creative force behind it, and just have people helping me realize and bring it to the stage. And yeah, I have a very great drummer called Freddie now, who's been playing live with me since July last year. So we did about 10 Germany shows within lockdowns and all that stuff. And he's going to continue now. And I have a great new live bass player called John, who actually is from the UK.
For those that aren't familiar with the band, how would you describe the sound that you guys have? What's the...
Right. So on the most recent album, Unstoppable, I would basically describe it as very modern produced hard rock music. I mean, root-wise, it's definitely coming from post-grunge and hard rock from the 2000s or late 90s. And I've just been so interested in various sounds, and not necessarily, the style of songs, but the production that's behind it, the instrumentation of strings, of synths, and that stuff. So it's gotten, I want to say, relatively very modern over the years. And that's kind of always what I wanted to do. It's just taken me a few years to actually find that, type of production sound that I imagined, and me being able to translate it from my brain to what I do in Pro Tools and that stuff. And actually Unstoppable is kind of like a collection of years and years of Psycho Village. So the last 3 or 4 songs, song called Half Cursed Symphony, Without You, and Can't You See, are from the very first EP. It's Okay also, but that basically was the first single. So these are on the record, and then there's 6 other new songs. I mean, the record's been out for 2.5 years now, so, but back then, new songs that have been written specifically for that record. So it's a cool collection. And now with the upcoming album, it's definitely gotten more modern also, and I've tried to, write better songs and try to find what works live, what doesn't. Just try to evolve the songs and write better songs in general, not just melody wise, lyrics wise, but also structural within the songs. Maybe not make the intro that long, and rather leave that to the live performance. With this day and age where you have a bunch of hip hop songs that are like 1:40 long, you don't want to have a 7-minute song. Until it's unless it screams for it. Like, I'm not against it. I just like to have the songs naturally develop and not just be boring. I'm very excited for the upcoming record, where the first single, Legendary, has been released, and we're just about to release the second single. So it's going to be good.
That's cool, man. Now, obviously, as you touched on it, then the latest single, Legendary, of course, features Benji Webbe of Skindred, which a lot of our listeners will be aware of. How did that collaboration come about?
We toured with Skindred back in 2019. We did a few shows with them. I didn't really have the chance to talk too much to Benji or the band, because it was just... It wasn't a whole tour. It was just, gigs within festivals for them, and we were able to support. And then they re-asked us to join them on the Vienna show, because I'm based in Vienna, obviously, and which was kind of cool. That single show, which I to this day don't get why they gave it to us, but I'm very happy they did. And just from that, I had the contact with their management and just reached out, because we kind of got along quite well, and was like, well, we kind of know each other, but I have this song. Do you think is Benji interested in doing a feature and just writing his Benji style vocals to this very part? Because I would think it's very cool. And all like, we'll send it forward to him. And I didn't hear back in like 2 weeks, so I was like, well, it's probably not going to happen. And then like one morning, I just look at my email, and basically he didn't even, so he sent me the very first demo of the Legendary track, and it hasn't changed too much. It was pretty much 90% what he did on the track in the end. And then we just connected over WhatsApp and over Zoom and discussed the parts through, and the bits and pieces in the beginning we wrote together, and then the big C part over the breakdown, he just did all by himself, and I had the chance to watch him record it through video, and it was a very cool experience. And he definitely helped put the song on a way another level than it would have been without that part. I'm extremely proud of it, and I think he is too.
That's really cool, man.
Now we like to kind of throw some weird questions at artists. So hypothetically, for Psycho Village's next album, you've been told that you've got to do another genre. You can't do what you've done previously. So what would that genre be? Have you ever had like an idea in your head of like, oh, if I could do this, maybe experiment with something?
Just a song or the whole album?
Whole album.
Yeah,
Whole
let's go with the whole
album.
album.
Wow.
Whole album. It could be a concept
Wow.
album. I mean, Danny, you have really got creative control because it's obviously Psychobility is your baby, you know. So if you wanted to do this, it could actually happen, which makes it even more. It
could happen, man. So what I was tossing around actually for a while now, I probably will do this one day. I wanted to do an all acoustics album with covering songs of bands that I'm friends with and have toured with.
Okay.
Now this isn't necessarily a whole nother genre, which you probably mean, but you know, it's not the high-produced rock record. So, I mean, what I definitely would have on there would probably be songs like Jenny from Nothing More, who we toured with back in 2017. Maybe Blurry from Puddle of Mud, who we toured with in 2018-19. Wherever You Will Go from The Calling. You know, songs like that. Just songs I've been a fan of bands that I've had the chance to tour with after I was a fan. So that's one of the things that comes to my mind.
I always think that's a really cool thing when and kind of, you know, takes you up a level when you've been a fan of a band and you're able then to go out on the road, you know, and support them. Which with the tours that you've done is your favourite?
Which tour's been the most favourite? I mean, I'll maybe name you 2 or 3 just on different levels. Just overall, my favourite tour that I've done. Well, the most memorable tour I've ever done definitely was that Nothing More tour back in 2017. Because that was the first, you know, big international tour that I was able to do. Not just, you know, Austria, Germany, maybe Switzerland, maybe one other country, but, you know, all of Europe, all of the UK, right? So that's always going to be remembered. And I can tell you a story for every single day on that tour without having to look at the schedule, because I still remember it. So much happened. Another one to remember was the last big tour we did with The Calling at the beginning of 2020, because that wasn't just the longest tour that I've done. It also was the longest tour Alex and The Calling have ever done in a row. And looking back now, and I actually need to get that approved, it probably was the longest tour of 2020 with 75 days in a row. So
in a row.
We started. Yeah, so we did 54 shows. I want to say 53 or 53 or 54 within 70 days, including, you know, traveling to and from the first city and that, you know, these kind of days. But yeah, 54 shows in a row with some off days, but, you know, just one day in between every now and then. And that big double-decker nightliner tour bus, big production, sold out shows, you know, crew, living your dream for 2 months, 2.5, and then having to quit and not play the last Ireland dates because pandemic hits and we need to fly back to Austria. If you'd have done the Ireland dates, would you have continued in with it all being in a row, or would you have had at least a break? Because I'll be honest with you, I struggle doing 4 days in a row. Do you know what I mean? Never mind doing like 74. I mean, I bet by the time, like you say, you came back to your girlfriend and your dog, you were very happy to sit down and relax. It gets hard. I mean, it was a tough time, especially, you know, we've been touring non-stop since 2017, and the longest break we've had maybe have been 2 months. And except that, we would tour for like a week or 2 minimum every month, right?
Wow.
So ever since I started touring internationally in 2017, I haven't stopped until the pandemic started. And then in September of 2019, the Unstoppable record was released through the first label I've worked with, and we did 2 tours back to back, like literally without an off day in between. We did 14 shows, I think. It was with this Canadian band called The Creep Show, Nightliner Tour Bus Tour. Ended on the last day of that tour, rented a car, drove 5 hours to the start of the next tour, which was the next day, gave that, rental car back at a different rental station, which costs a fortune, by the way, because you need to pay someone to bring the fucking car back to where you rented it from. Entered another tour bus the very next day and did, I think, another 14 shows with a Swedish band called Takida, that actually probably was the most fun and memorable tour to go full circle I've ever done, because that whole tour was sold out. All venues have been upgraded to a bigger room at least once. Some actually have been upgraded twice. And what started to, being a fun club tour with 100, 150 cap venues ended up, because Takida blew up right when we joined this tour, ended up being, 1,500 cap venues. So huge venues. They blew up, charted with the album, and whole tour sold out, double-decker tour bus, crew, PR team. And that's up to Takida, not us, but, we were kind of a very tiny part of that, and we're able to expand the especially German fan base, because all these shows were in Germany massively. Probably triple ticket sales we do in Germany just because of that tour. And then we had like a month break, and in between that I went to LA for 2 weeks to meet up with Alex and the Calling, because I was also tour managing him. Then we did some headline shows. We did another show with Skindred. Then we had Christmas break, and then we went on that massive 2.5 month tour with the Calling, and then had to cancel the last shows. I think it was just the very last show we had to cancel, and emergency fly back to Austria to, because it was very uncertain then. So I was on the road pretty much straight since September, and I flew back and I was locked in a room for months. So that was hard.
Yeah.
And I had a breakdown or two then, and just got very angry over the weeks, because it was, just non-stop 24/7, going, writing songs, going to the studio, touring, playing shows, meet and greets, interviews, and then just silence for months. And now we're 2 years later. A ton of stuff has happened in these 2 years, and it still feels like I've exited the Callings tour bus, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's very bittersweet in a way, but excited for what's coming next.
Got a lot forward, man. That's the only thing. And with that in mind, like for folks that want to check the band out, like particularly in the UK, do you have any gigs planned? Obviously, where you are now, but do you plan to come to the UK at all?
Dude, we were scheduled to do this massive tour with Saliva that was going to start next week, but it's literally been cancelled today.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I have some cool things coming up. So we'll be doing 3 shows with the Bunny the Bear in September in the UK, and actually me and my boys will be the Bunny the Bear's backing band also. So we will be touring for 2 weeks. We will be on tour, the Bunny the Bear and this bridge band called Cabin Boy Jumped Ship. That's cool. The package for 2 weeks in September. Then I will be guitarist and tour manager for Diamante on her massive Europe UK tour, and we're going to play tons of big festivals like Grass Pop and Hellfest. And there's going to be 3 UK shows, and we're actually discussing that Circle will also open up that tour. So fingers crossed. I think it's like 90% confirmed. Just the booking agency needs to say yes. Management and artists already have said yes. So this is probably going to be the next big Psychology tour with new songs and maybe a new EP. The new record is scheduled to come out in the fall. And yeah, there's few more other tours in discussion with bigger US bands that have not been confirmed yet, so I can't say too much. But if everything goes well, there will be a 2-week UK run in May, hopefully. And I probably know this within the next 1 or 2 weeks. So yeah,
Nice one.
And
sounds
just,
good, man.
Continue. Sorry, say again.
No, just saying, sounds good. I mean, with me and Ryan will do. If you let us know whenever any of the shows are, myself and Ryan would love to come down and check it all out, man. You're a busy man. You're far too busy.
I try to be.
Now
maybe a bit busier than my girlfriend likes me to be.
we've all got that problem, brother. Don't worry about that.
Now we like to kind of finish things off with a bit of our kind of signature question.
Okay.
So if you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be? You've got your time travel device, so you could go back in time.
One band from the future.
That one might be a bit difficult, but
one band from the past. You know, I mean, if it was any genre, let's just go with Guns N' Roses.
Well, like
now,
a classic
I'm not sure
Guns N' Roses?
The music I'm doing right now would certainly fit with 80s Guns N' Roses. But let's just,
you got to.
Let's just slip that. One band from the present. I'd love to tour with Skillet. I'm a huge Skillet fan. I'd absolutely love to tour with Shinedown.
Yeah.
Cool band.
I just want to do an all arena tour with Alter Bridge, Shine, Jerry, Skindred. Skillet, not Skindred. And then us opening up. That would be fun. Just play O2 arenas all over the UK. There you go. I'd love to do with Skindred also then.
Because obviously Alter Bridge and Shinedown, I think, and Black State, they've all kind of done that sort of tour anyway, haven't they? So if we could just slot you in. But what we'll do is we'll go in the time machine. So we've got Psycho Village, we've got Skillet, and then we've got peak Guns N' Roses. So Ryan touched it. What era Guns N' Roses would you have? Would you have literally when they're playing the Ritz, when they're at the most kind of dangerous, or would you have like mid 90s, Use Your Illusion sort of guns? What's your prime guns that you'd like to play with?
I mean, I want to see them play November Rain and Estranged, so it's got to be that time period.
This is true. I mean, Estranged is one of my favourite Guns songs. I think it gets so underrated.
So it's much fun as it would be, the Roxy and these venues. I just want to see these songs played, so it's got to be the big stadium tour, unfortunately.
There's nothing wrong with that.
One band from the future I'd like to tour with is with the Fallen State in 5 years from now, because they're going to be massive.
Yes. Nice callback as well there.
Yeah, very nice. Of course, we've had Meth from the Fallen State on there as well. So yeah, very, very nice. Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, brother. Thank you so much for your time. For those that haven't checked out Psycho Village, what are you doing? Go on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the other things. Obviously, Danny also works with the Buddy the Bear, as well as a range of other bands. And make sure when he comes over to the UK, either with Psycho Village or Buddy the Bear, you go and check out some shows and give some love, as we will be doing the same. Danny, thank you so much for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And I'll definitely be in the UK in July with Diamante. And hopefully with Psych Village before that also. So, and then with the Bunny the Bear in September, so you have all the chances to see me perform within one of the three formations.
There's no excuse.
Definitely with Psych Village this year, hopefully.
No excuse. Well, hopefully we can catch up and share a beer as well, brother.
Yeah, going to be fun.
That was Danny from Psycho Village. Interesting dude, Danny. I enjoyed it when he was. Obviously, like when we make contact with guests, we obviously know the band and stuff. But the beauty of them coming on the Vibe Rise, that we've obviously found out a bit more about their overall story and their journey and the people behind it. And it's incredible. A lot of the bands he toured with was quite a surprise to me. That journey, do you know what I mean? Obviously, like the Calling and stuff. Obviously the band and Danny have been around and worked hard. And I thought it was very interesting as well, being on tour for about, what do you say, like 42 days straight or something daft like that.
Yes, it was an insane length of time, and then the only reason why it stopped was because of COVID itself.
Yeah, that was the only reason. Not because he needed
he would have kept going.
Or to see his dog or his missus, more importantly. I mean, like we said, the interview, I struggle doing like 4 or 5 days straight. So it's because it takes so much out of you being on stage. It's it's like Zumba for me, but it's the emotional thing as well, like of just giving so much and then the come down to have that continuously. But at the same time, I think people like Danny have an appetite for it. There's some people that are just built for this sort of business, and I think COVID, similar as how it affected Danny, as he expressed it does affect you when all that stops, because all of a sudden you've got to take a breath and you feel very enclosed in them 4 walls, But yeah, very interesting interview, and I'd really like to see him on some of them shows, particularly with Psycho Village. I think it'd be good.
Yes, it was an interesting one. I think one of the things in particular that surprised me was when he talked about his original keyboard player, who still plays a part kind of in and out of the band. Yeah, of course he is blind, and it's like I can't play an instrument, and I can, you can
see.
Yeah, this is it. I've got full.
lazy. I think a lot of.
I mean, it's just quite incredible, really, that there's he can do that, and he's one of the first people to
ever study music at university.
Yeah, out
amazing,
there, which is incredible, really. I mean, I didn't see that one coming. So.
No. This is the beauty, isn't it, of the vibe, is that you can drop into people's lives and find out these little stories. Because obviously Donny's been in the band for I think he said about 12, 13 years. Yeah. I mean, I was picking my arse and covering Guns N' Roses songs when I was 15.
When we had a look on, doing our research as we do, exactly, and we saw that he'd started this way back in 2009. I couldn't help but think, I was like, what was I doing in 2009?
Well, I reckon he's about the same age as because I think he dropped it. He's like 27. I mean, 2009, I went to my first download. I can remember that I only did one day because I was scared. I think Blackstone's Folklore and Superstition had just come out.
Yes.
I think it was 2008, because I know Rockaplast.
Somewhere around there, isn't it?
Yeah, because 2009 they did an amazing Rockaplast performance, which always stands in my memory. Yeah, what were you doing, Mr. Basie?
In 2009, I believe. God. Sometime didn't we leave secondary school around then and do?
We would have been. We'd have been 15, 16. So
yeah,
16's when you go to college, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say it is, isn't it? I was thinking that because so I'd have been pretty much applying for colleges probably.
Madness, isn't it? Because think how much has happened in that time.
That's what I'm saying. It's bizarre to think. I was living in Cornwall. I was living in the middle of nowhere at that point.
On an island.
Well, not that far back, but I was on the mainland. But
you'd upgraded to the mainland at that point.
I was still at the end of the line, the train line in the country. But yes, it's mad to think that he's been that driven since that age. There's
amazing.
I know kids of that age from when I was that age that were just like sitting around in a bus stop,
standing at railway stations with their hands in the sleeves.
Yeah, exactly, looking intimidating.
That's it.
But yeah, really interesting chat. But yes, that is it for this week. Be on the vibe. If you like what we're doing, you can subscribe, of course. We put out episodes every week. And if you want to find out what guests we have, we put a teaser trailer out on a Wednesday from 10 a.m. on our Facebook and Instagram. And we put the episode out itself on a Saturday from 10 a.m. But if that isn't enough, I know. We also do things like Extra Vibes, where we do like top 10s and stuff like that. We recently did the top 10 albums of 2021 with Lee Graham. Yeah, exactly. That was a great chat. So I'd certainly encourage you to check that out. Also, we do stuff like Beyond the Gear, where we go out and about into the world and chat with various artists about
doing that much more in 2020. Now we're allowed to go outside and ramble around and bother musicians. Yeah, we say bother. Musicians want to talk about their gear. You know, when we did Robert John the Wreck, which you can check out with Henry. I mean, I think he'd literally been waiting to do a rig rundown his entire life. You know, so
well, I mean, from your perspective, yeah. I mean, you're a musician. I mean,
I love it. I mean, if I can't sleep at night, I imagine myself getting interviewed doing a rig rundown. That's cool, isn't it? That's cool.
Yeah. I dream of getting interviewed.
I just want, it's just you want to go through it all, don't you?
This is it. Oh, let's see. He's getting his new guitar out as well. He had to show it.
I won't get it out anymore.
Yes.
Check it out, and obviously, if you click the bell, subscribe, and like this video. If you like this video, it lets us know that what we're doing, you're enjoying it, and it will keep us going for moving forward. So yeah, join the vibe, join the family, and if you shall, we shall see you
next week.